WordPress is a really versatile site building platform. If anybody tells you that it's a blogging platform, then ignore them. WordPress can build blogs, sure. It can also build affiliate sites, portfolio sites, business sites, and so on. In fact, you're only limited by your own skills. And that's what this section of the course is all about, because I want to show you a few site structures that are common and how to create them in WordPress. We'll start off by having a look at a basic WordPress website. And we'll also look at how that differs from a business style website. And then we'll look at how a blog website is different. But first, we need to have a look at the tools that are at your disposal when you're trying to create the structure of your website. So we'll do that in the next lecture. Before you start a website, it's always a good idea to plan it. And in order to plan the structure, you need to know what tools are available for you to use to create those structures. And I've got them listed on the screen now. Posts and pages are the main content of your website, with obviously the exception of the home page, which is probably the most important piece of content. But posts and pages are one of those things a lot of people get confused about. If you've taken my WordPress for Beginners course, you should have a much better idea of when to use posts and when to use pages. Essentially, pages seem to be those pieces of content that aren't really connected to anything else on the site, and they're not related really to anything else on the site. So, for example, I would use a page for my contact information, for legal documents and so on. On the other hand, posts are best for pieces of content which you want to categorize and put into groups because they are related. A lot of the websites that I build use posts predominantly for the content, but then if I was going to be building a business site, I would probably use pages for most of the content. The static homepage I've got listed here is your choice. Do you want a static homepage? Do you want to control exactly what is shown on the homepage, or do you want the homepage dynamically updated to show the recent posts on the site? That's your choice. You also have access to a blog page, which in WordPress will be a page that you can set up that shows all of the posts on your site. But you can be a little bit more flexible in that, because you don't have to create a blog page the way WordPress wants you to if you want more control over which posts are appearing on your blog page. We'll look at that in this section of the course. And the final two tools that you have are categories and tags. Categories we're all familiar with. We all use them because posts are put into categories, and the categories are the main sections of your website. But a lot of people get a bit more confused about tags, and tags have been really abused over the years. Tags have a purpose. They are a secondary form of categorization, and in the next video we're going to have a quick look and remind ourselves what tags are for, when to use them, and how to use them. In this video I want to have a look at WordPress tags, and maybe this will act as a reminder of what you should and shouldn't be using tags for. You need to think of tags as a secondary way to categorize your content. The most important way to categorize your content is using WordPress categories. There is a major difference in the way we use categories and tags that I should mention right now. Any post you create can only be in one category, but it can have multiple tags. And that's really useful, as we'll see as we come on to discuss how we're going to use tags and then look at the structures of websites. So bear that in mind. Categories, one per post. Tags, multiple per post. If we take an example of digital cameras, then maybe categories will be the brands of the digital cameras and tags will be the features. That would make sense in terms of how we use categories and tags, because a camera can only be one brand, but a camera can have lots of different features which would be defined by the tags. I've made a list of the brands here, and these would make very good categories for your website. But let's have a look and see some of the features as well, because I've added some of those down below. And some people might decide that they're going to have categories with Nikon and Canon and so on and all those makes, brands, but they would also have a category called flash or compact camera or DSLR camera. And this would be very confusing, and it would be a huge number of categories. The whole point of categories and tags is that the categories are the main way you're going to categorize your content. The tags are a secondary way. One way you can think about this, if it helps you to distinguish between categories and tags, is that any post on your website should only be put into a single category. It's not good practice to have a post that is being put into 2 or 3 different categories because it adds to duplication on your website. So your categories have to be different enough that posts can only fit into one category. Take that Nikon camera that was a flash compact, then which category would you put it in if you used all of these as categories? Because it would fit in the Nikon category, it would fit in the flash category, and it would fit in the compact category. By making your brands categories and your features tags, it means you can have correct categorization of your articles. So my recommendation here would be to have the brands as the main category. So you have Nikon and Canon and Mamiya and Olympus and Ricoh and Sony as categories on your website. And then the posts on your website will have tags. So if you're looking at a Sony camera that is a compact camera and it has flash, then you could use the tags flash and compact camera on the Sony. And then if you're on the Nikon section and you're creating a post about a particular Nikon camera that also has flash and is also compact, then you could also use those tags on that page as well. And the way WordPress works is that every tag you use, WordPress will create a tag page for it. So your flash tag page will list all of the articles on your site that have that tag. So it will list that Nikon and that Sony camera on the same page. Where this type of structure is really useful is when your visitors come along and they're trying to find something. They might know that they want a Nikon, so they can go straight to the Nikon category and start going through the reviews there. Or they might know that they want a full frame digital SLR, so instead they could go to the full frame tag page and that will list all of the camera reviews that are full frame cameras. So it helps them find what they want, and that's the whole point of the website, is to give visitors an easy way to find the content that they want. If we take this example of digital cameras and go over to Amazon, let's just do a search for digital cameras. On the left hand side we have categories and effectively tags as well. So I could say, look, I want a Nikon camera, and when I select the Nikon, then only the Nikon cameras are shown in the list. But I could further refine that and say I want a Nikon camera that has 20 or more megapixels, and that would be a tag on a website. But this now is showing me Nikon cameras 20 or more megapixels. If I get rid of the Nikon from that search, it will then show me all cameras with 20 megapixels. Here's a Sony. It's a different make, another make, a Canon. So that's how categories and tags can help people on your website find the information they want. There's one website out there that I often use for examples of how not to use tags, and this is the one. You can see down here we've got a tag cloud, and let's just click on one of those items, Sun. It's very small lettering, so it means there's not many posts that use that tag, and in fact on this page there's only 2 posts that use that tag. This is a post, outdoor solar shower, and you can see that on that post all of these tags are used. So I don't know how many there is there, 100 tags maybe used on a single post. If we go over to the post, let me just click on the link itself. We have an article and then all of these tags down here. Most of these tags are hardly used at all. If we look at the tag cloud, these really small ones, we know that sun is only used on 2 topics. We have shed used on 2 topics, save used on 2, lights. So a lot of these tags are only being used on a couple of posts, and that's not what tags are about. If you're only tagging or using a tag on 2 posts, then perhaps you shouldn't be using that tag at all, because tags are there to help categorize, and if there's nothing to really categorize, then you shouldn't be using the tag. Just to finish off, here is supposedly a post on this website, and you can see that is the content of the post. The list of tags is longer than the post. Okay, so you have a better idea of what not to do with tags. In the next few lectures, we're going to look at different WordPress website structures and create them in the dashboard. I'm going to leave this video now with this statement on the screen. If a post can fit into more than one category, your category structure is wrong. The reason I'm finishing with that is that I always get emails from students who've taken my courses saying my post can fit into 2 or 3 different categories. This is always my answer. So think about your category structure. Think how you can make your categories mutually exclusive. In other words, there is no overlap between the categories. A post can't be in one category and another category. It can only be in a single category. In this video, I want to look at a basic WordPress website. The website diagram you have on the screen now has a home page which links to important pages like contact, privacy, terms, about us, and so on, but it will also link to the various categories on the site, and each category will have a number of posts. You may or may not want to have a blog on your site. WordPress does give us the option of having a blog page, but the way that works is the blog page shows all of the posts on your site. So the blog would then show all the posts from all the different categories, and that may not be what you want. It might be what you want, but it may not be. What I typically do is have a blog where I do small updates, and I don't really want these into the main categories. So I'll show you how I set that one up. Inside the WordPress dashboard, if we go over and have a look at pages, I've got the home page set up, I've got contact, about us, and privacy. If we go over to the test site, let's go to the home page. Here we are. We have the home page. This will be the home page article. As you can see, it's set up as a static page, which if you go down to settings, reading, you can see that I've set the home page as a static page there. So we've also got the links to the various pages, about, contact, privacy. We could get rid of that homepage link since the logo is also linked to the homepage. Let me just go to appearance and menus, and let's have a look. That one is invalid. Let me remove that and add the privacy policy again. Let's have a look back at that. So we're about, contact, home, privacy policy. We don't probably want the home there. Let me save that menu. Okay, that menu's been updated. Let me click over to the manage location and select the legal for the primary menu. And if we go back and have a quick look, okay, we've now got the options that we wanted. So back on the diagram, we've got the home page with a menu at the top linking to these contact, privacy and terms, and about us. The other thing we wanted was the home page to link to the categories, and the way WordPress can do this quite easily is using a category widget. So if somebody comes along to my website, they could search for a particular camera, or they could say, look, I want to go with a Nikon camera, so let's go to the Nikon category, and then you'll just get a list of all the Nikon articles where they can go in and then find the information that they want. You remember earlier in the course, though, we said that you can use tags to further refine the categorization and make it easier for people who know what they want, but they don't know what brand. They know, for example, they might want a mirrorless camera, but they don't know which brand. So that's where we can use tags, and there's a couple of ways we can do this. So let's go to the widgets. The easiest way, although it's not the best, I don't think, it looks a little bit ugly, is to add a tag cloud to the sidebar. So let's just refresh. And let me refresh again. Let me just purge the cache because it's still reading the cache version. There we go. Now we've got the tags. So if somebody knows they want a mirrorless camera, they can click on the mirrorless tag and be taken to the mirrorless tag page, which will list all of the mirrorless cameras. And you can see they're taken across brands. So we've got Sony mirrorless, another Sony mirrorless, a Nikon mirrorless. So this way people can go in and they can search for the features that they want in a camera rather than the make. So if somebody wanted a DSLR, click on that. And we have Sony, we have Nikon, and we have a Canon as well. So we are giving them the maximum flexibility. As I said, I don't like tag clouds. I think they look a little bit ugly, so I'm going to delete that. And the way I would do this is I would add a menu. So let's go in and I'm going to create a new menu. I'm going to call it tags. In fact, let's call it features. Create the menu. And then what we need to do is add links to the tag pages. Now, tags isn't listed here. We've got pages, posts, custom links, and categories. So let's go up to screen options, make sure tags is selected, and now we have links to all the tag pages. I'm going to click view all. I could go from here, but this is most used, and if I haven't used one a lot, it may not appear in this list. So it's best just to choose select all. I'm going to put them all into my menu. I might want to just capitalize the name, DSLR flash. Let's put a capital F for that one and put capital F full frame and then a capital M for mirrorless. And let's just save this menu. Now there aren't any locations within this theme where I want to put that menu. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it as a widget to the sidebar, and we can put in a navigation menu under the category. Let's say, let's put a title, spell it right, select my features menu and save, and then go back to the website and click on refresh. And now we have categories and we have features. So somebody could come in and search for Nikon cameras, or they could search for mirrorless camera, and they'll be taken to the appropriate page. Correct use of categories and tags, making it much easier for the visitor to find things. If we go back to our diagram, there's one thing we haven't done yet, and that is the blog. Now, WordPress, as I said, gives you the option of a blog page. So we could go in, let's have a look. Let's just go in and create a new page, and I'm going to call it blog, and publish it with no content. And if we go to settings, reading, then we could set the posts page, which is the blog page, to blog, and this basically lists all the posts. All right, let's go back to the top menu. We're going to go back to the legal menu. I'm going to add a link to that blog page. Let's go to the legal menu, select, and I want a link to the blog page, so let's put that in. And I'm going to put in in fact I'm going to put it this side, a pipe, and then I'm going to drag that to the top. All right, let's save that menu, and we'll go back to the site and we'll refresh. I might need to clear the cache again. No, there we go. So we've now got the blog. If I click on that, what it's going to do is going to take me to the blog page, which basically lists all of the posts on the website. Now, that's not how I see a blog. I see a blog as smaller updates, not necessarily related to the main categories. So the way I would do a blog is a little bit different. I would go to posts category and create a category called blog, and then save it. And if we go in now and add a new, let's say we're going to add a new blog post. Let's put a title, Sony does it again. Type in the text for our blog post. Go down, select blog, publish. Let's just do one more. Another blog post, so let's go down, click on blog and click on publish. Okay, now that's published, so we have two blog posts. Let's go back to our appearance menu, down here, menus, and instead of linking to that blog page, I'm going to remove that and I'm going to link to the blog category that we just set up. Just move that up there. I'm going to edit the navigation label. Let's just save that, and we'll go back to the test site and click on refresh, and let's click on the blog link now, and that then takes us to the page which only has the blog posts. In other words, the posts that are in the blog category that we just set up. So that's how I would do it. So that then covers this entire basic WordPress website structure, with homepage linking to contact form, privacy, legal pages as I call them, about us, also linking to the main categories which contain the posts, and then linking to your blog, which is more periodic, smaller updates on the website to inform your visitors about the latest news in that particular niche. In this video, I want to show you how easy it is to create a blog with WordPress. And I've got two diagrams here side by side, because what you do with the home page is up to you. You can use the home page as your blog and it will show the blog posts, or you could have a static home page and then link the static home page to your blog page, which would then show the posts. That choice is yours. Typically, I think most people go for the home page as being a blog. And if I go over to my test site, this is the home page, and all it shows is the blog posts in chronological order. New blog posts will be added to the top. This is the default setting for WordPress, and the default setting you'll find down in the settings reading, where your homepage displays your latest posts. So that already then is this first model. We have the homepage, which lists all the blog posts, and we have links to contact, privacy, and things like that. Up here we have contact, about us, privacy. We've got a blog link in there. That's just from a previous lecture. Let me just remove that. It's in my menu. Let's remove, save menu, and then we'll refresh the cache on that page. And there you go. That is a typical blog. You do have the right sidebar, and your blog posts, you might put them into categories, and so you might decide that you want to go over to the widgets and add a category widget which will display the categories. If I can refresh that to show you, let's just purge the cache again. Okay, so we have the categories, and you could also, like in the general WordPress website we set up before, we could add the features as a navigation menu that we had created. Click on the save, and I'm going to go straight to purge the page to reload it. And then you have the navigation features in there as well. So that is a typical blog. The alternative, the other diagram I showed you, is to have the home page as a static page and then set up a blog page. That is easy as well. Let's go down to settings, reading, and we set up the home page as a static page, and then you create that static page, and then you set up the post page, which is basically going to be your blog, as the blog page you created, just a blank page called blog. If we now go to the menus, I can add a link to that blog page and we can see how that will work. These are the pages here. Let's add a link to the blog page. Depends where you want to add it. Let's just add it to the end this time for a change. Save the menu. And then once it's saved, we can go back to the home page and refresh, and we'll have a nice static home page which we control the information on there. We've still got the sidebar you can do whatever you want with, but we've got this link now to the blog which will list all of the posts on your site. And there we have it. So that is these two structures here, a typical blog website set up using WordPress. In this video, I want to look at how WordPress is typically used to set up a business website. The difference between a business website and the other websites that we've seen is that a business website tends to use pages for most of the main pages of the website. That's because they're not really related to anything else. They don't need to be categorized, and there's relatively few of them, so you don't have to manage a lot of pages. In this diagram, we've got the home page connected to the typical pages like contact and privacy and terms, but we've also got the home page linking to the main pages of the business site. So we might have testimonials, we might have a page on services, another page on products, and another page on frequently asked questions. And then also the business wants to have a blog so it can keep its customers updated with short posts. Those will be done with WordPress posts. Everything else that you see in this diagram will be pages. So let's go over to the dashboard and see how this will be set up. The first thing I'd want to do is to make the home page static. So I've actually already done that. If I refresh that home page, this is a static home page that's been set up. But to show you where that is, you should know already now that in the settings reading, you set up the home page to display a static page, and then you select it from the drop-down list. So that's the home page setup. We then need to have the legal menu, contact, privacy, terms, and so on, linked to from the home page. So what we need to do is think where we're going to put it. This menu at the top here is because I haven't actually got any menu specified for the top area, but this theme is automatically putting in all the pages of the website in that menu. As soon as we create a menu and assign it to this top area, that menu will disappear. Let's do that now. We'll replace that menu with a menu that has testimonial services, products, and frequently asked questions. In other words, the most important links on the site. So I'm going to go in, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new menu. I'm going to call it top menu. And then we need to view all pages and decide which ones we want to include. So we want products, services, testimonials, frequently asked questions. Let me go back to the diagram here. Testimonial service, that's it. So we have those 4 in there. Let's add them to the menu and decide how we want to order these. Okay, and let's save that. Once it's saved, let's go to menu locations and we'll set the top menu to display, or the primary menu to display that top menu. And let's refresh the page. There we have the 4 pages there, which will link to the WordPress pages on the site that we've created for those web pages. Okay, so the next thing we need to do then is have a look at linking to the contact terms, privacy, and those legal pages. Now, it might well be that you're going to want to add contact up here as well, because it is quite an important one. We could do that fairly simply. Let's just go over, select contact and add it to the menu, and then save the menu. And then if we refresh the page, okay, we now also have a link to the contact form page. There we go. So the rest of the legal menus, we have already created a legal menu. If I select it and show you, it's got About Us, Contact, and Privacy Policy. We've just put the contact into the top menu, so we don't need that anymore. Let's move those around. If we had a terms and conditions, we'd also include that. I don't have that, so I'm going to just leave it. Now, there's 2 ways you can add this menu. Where I've decided I want to add it is down in the footer, and it's worth testing because in the manage locations, have a look and see where you have the option of putting a menu. I could put the menu down there in the footer with that, but I usually prefer to try to use widgets to insert the menu, and I've got 4 widget areas. So let's grab a navigation menu and we'll put it into navigation menu 1, and we'll select the legal menu. And let's go back to the site and refresh. And that menu hasn't appeared. In this case, if I go into customize, I'll find that the Astra theme has it disabled by default. So I need to go in there and change that. Let's go into the layout options and then down to footer widgets. You can see it's disabled. If I enable that and then we publish, let's go back to the web page and scroll down to the bottom, and you can see we now have the privacy policy in there. We've got these placeholders in here. They won't show on the final site. If I log out, in fact what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an incognito window just so you can see. If I go to the website not logged in as an administrator, all we get down the bottom is the menu down there. So that's the home page, the links to legal menus which are in the footer, and then the service pages which are across the top. We've got to set up the blog, and this will be all blog posts or WordPress posts that you create will be inserted into the blog. So you're going to use the WordPress blog page. To do that, we need to add a new page, call it whatever you like. I'm going to call it just blog for simplicity. Nothing in the content of the web page. And then once that's saved, we go over to settings, reading, and we're going to set the posts page, which is basically the blog page, to the new page we've just created. And then we're going to add a link to this. Let's go to the menus. And we will add this to the top menu. Let's change to the top menu and put the blog item in the menu. I'm going to put it first in the list. Let's just click on save and then go back to the site. We're going to purge the cache just to refresh this, and you can see when it loads now we've got a link to the blog and we have all of the other essentials of the business site. Let's click on the blog link, and that takes you to a page which lists all of the posts in chronological order, the newest ones at the top, and that then is a typical business website set up with WordPress. I want to spend a little bit of time just talking about sitemaps, what they are and who they're for. Firstly, a sitemap is basically a list of all the web pages on your site. To be more precise, it's usually the most important pages on your site. But which are the most important pages on your site? For me, the most important pages are the pages that help make me money. The pages that aren't important to me are things like contact pages, privacy pages, terms and disclaimers. They might be really important for the site and you might have to have them for your site to protect you, but in terms of making you money and in terms of telling people that these pages are there, those ones aren't as important as those ones that make you money. When you think of the sitemap as a list of URLs, you start to think about, well, what is the purpose of the sitemap? Who is going to use that list of URLs? And it used to be that we would create sitemaps for visitors and we would nicely format them with links and a little description of pages and so on. But that's largely been replaced by high quality navigation. If you've got good quality navigation on your site, you don't need a sitemap for visitors. So the primary purpose of sitemaps today is for the search engines. The easiest way to make a sitemap on a WordPress site is by using a plugin, and I'm going to show you how to use the Yoast SEO plugin to configure your sitemap. But let me show you what one of the sitemaps looks like. This is my sitemap homepage. There we go. There's the domain name / sitemap_index.xml. XML is a programming language, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. But the sitemap that the Yoast SEO plugin creates is actually a list of individual sitemaps. So we have a sitemap for posts, a sitemap for pages, one for categories, one for tags, and one for authors. Let's click on the post sitemap, and this will load the sitemap of posts. If I look at the page source of this, this is the actual XML that creates the sitemap. So you can see it's not there for human visitors. This is something that's been designed for computers. The XML creates these records of URLs. So it tells you the location, LOC, of the URL, and it says when it was last modified, the date and the time. Here's the next location, date and time last modified. So the XML sitemap is a convenient way to represent the information about URLs on your site, and it's a standard that is used, and Google understands how to use it, and Google can go in and it can check and it can say, oh look, this record here, this URL was last updated later than the version that we've got, so we know we've got to go back there, we know we've got to spider it again and include the updated version in the index. So really today the whole purpose of sitemaps is to help search engines find those important URLs on your site. By giving Google a sitemap, you're giving it a list of all the URLs on your site that you want Google to know about. You want Google to index, you want Google to include in the search engines, and you want Google to rank. But here's the thing, if the sitemap is only the important URLs, then look, for me, things like the author sitemap is not important because the author sitemap just links to the posts and all the posts are included in the post sitemap. So I don't really need the author sitemap there. You might not want the tag sitemap, or you might not want the category sitemap, depending on how you use categories and tags. But one of the sitemaps that I don't want as well is pages, because on the particular sites that I build, the pages are the legal information. They're the things that I don't want indexed. So this sitemap is not that good for my purposes. And in the next video, we're going to have a look at Yoast SEO, how it creates this sitemap and how you can modify this sitemap to only include the pages and posts that you want included. In the last video, we started to look at the sitemap created by the Yoast SEO plugin, and we decided that some of these sitemaps, like the author sitemap, which essentially just lists posts by a given author, so there's the Andy sitemap, there's all the posts, well, those links are all included in the post sitemap. And things like the page sitemap is not that useful for me because of the way I use pages. So what I want to do is show you how the Yoast SEO plugin can allow you to customize what is included on your sitemap. The way it works is if you go down to the SEO settings of the Yoast SEO plugin, then you can turn your sitemap on or off over here on the General tab, Features, and if we scroll down a little bit, you see XML sitemaps on. If it's off at the moment, turn it on and then save changes. And to view where your sitemap is, if you click on the little question mark, there is a link to see the sitemap, and the sitemap will then open in a new window. What we're going to do is have a look and see how we set the default values of what's included and what isn't. And we do that over on the search appearance section. On the content types, we've got posts, we've got pages. And at the top, we've got show posts in search results. If you select yes, then you're going to get the posts sitemap. And that's what we want. For pages, it's the same. If you select yes, then you're going to get the pages sitemap. Now, I don't want the pages sitemap, so I'm going to say no to that. The thing is, if there is a page that we do want to include in the search results, then we can override this setting from the Yoast SEO plugin by going into individual page settings, and we'll see that shortly. So I've now effectively turned pages off on my sitemap, and if I refresh, you see the pages sitemap has now disappeared. If we go over onto the taxonomies, we can decide whether to include the categories and tags in the sitemap. I like to include categories and I like to include tags. These are the category pages and the tag pages. The reason I like to include them is that my category pages and my tag pages usually have a nice introduction at the top, and then it lists all of the links to the articles in that category or tag, and so it works as a page on its own. If I was just using category pages to just list all the posts in the category, then I would turn them off. But for me, I'm going to leave them turned on. And this formats one down the bottom is another one that I will just turn off. So I'm going to save those changes. And then finally the archives. Remember, in the sitemap I don't want the author sitemap, and we've got the option again, show author archives in search results. No, that effectively removes it from the sitemap. Date archives, you can include those in the search results, yes or no. I'm going to say no. And then special pages, there isn't an option for that, but let's just save those changes. And if we go back to my sitemap and refresh, we can see we've now cut it down to posts, category pages and tag pages, and that's what I want. Now, I said that if there was a single post or a single page that you actually wanted in the search results, even though you specified that you didn't in the default settings, then you can override that setting. So let me show you how that works. If I go into my post sitemap, then we see a list of all the posts. Let's take one of these as an example, and we'll take this last one, Nikon Z series. If I find the Nikon Z series post and go into the edit screen, then scroll down to find the Yoast settings, and we want the advanced tab, then you can see that it says here, allow search engines to show this post in the search results. It says use the default for posts, currently set to yes. If it was a post I didn't want in the search results, I can actually set it to no and then update. And let's just do that, and I can show you what happens, because two things happen. Firstly, if we go over to the sitemap and refresh, watch what happens to that last entry. It disappears. So it's been removed from the sitemap, but the important thing that's happened is actually in the code of the web page itself. If I right click and go to view source code, I'm going to type F3 on my keyboard, and I've typed in a search phrase no index, and you can see here that WordPress, or more precisely the Yoast SEO plugin, has added a meta tag for the robots saying no index, don't index this page, ignore this page. So that's effectively how the Yoast SEO plugin works. If you say you don't want it to appear in the search engines, it adds this no index follow tag to those posts and pages. If you override it, or you say yes you do want it to appear in the search results, then that meta robots tag isn't included. And I can show you that if we just go back and we go back to edit the post, and we'll go back down here and we'll say to use the default setting, which is yes. And then once that's saved, we'll open the post, view the source code. I'm going to press F3 to find no index, and you can see that no index now is not found on the page because the Yoast SEO plugin has removed it from the web page. So now the search engines can spider it, and the search engines can include it in the search results. And the same will happen for the pages. If you've got pages turned off and you say you don't want them to appear in the search results, then your sitemap is not going to have a pages sitemap. You can override the setting by saying yes, you do want it to be included in the search results, but you still won't get a pages sitemap. All that will do is it will remove that no index tag from that particular page, and Google will find it that way. So that's how the Yoast SEO plugin works, and how you can configure your sitemap to only include the most important pages on your website. What I would suggest you do is that once you have your sitemap up and running, is to go over to the General tab, Features, scroll down to Sitemaps, find your sitemap URL, and it's just that last bit after the domain, and then log into your Google Search Console and go over to the Sitemaps menu on the left, and then at the top here type in the URL of your sitemap, Click on submit, and you can see there that mine was submitted on September the 5th, 2015, last read July the 5th, 2019. As I record this, it's the 9th of July, so it came 4 days ago to find my URLs.